Advocacy groups hope that this will be the year that they convince state lawmakers to put an end to New York's mandatory court fees. These are surcharges that the state adds on top of whatever punishment or fine is handed down by a judge. Channel 2's Dave McKinley reports this is something that affects really every New Yorker who ends up in court. Right, Dave?
Well, that is absolutely right, Mary Alice, because no matter if it's an offense serious enough to land you in jail or merely a traffic ticket, a state mandatory court surcharge awaits you at the disposition of the case. The state began assessing the surcharges for every person convicted back in the 1980s as a means to help fund courts and such things as victim assistance programs. New York's not the only state doing this, but at a rally at the state capitol today, groups supporting the so-called End Predatory Court Fees Act say New York is getting out of hand, claiming our state's court fees are not only higher than most others, but what's more,
New York, despite a statutory obligation to track how much money is imposed and collected in court fees, doesn't do it.
New York is also one of only a few states where judges have no discretion to reduce or waive the fees, and where if you can't or don't pay, you can go to jail for that too, even though it has nothing to do with your original offense.
The bill does a couple of things. One is that it eliminates the court fees. So those fees that are just intended to be revenue raisers that are not part of somebody's sentence. So it eliminates those court fees. It does not eliminate fines, but it does eliminate mandatory minimum fines, meaning that judges can take into account somebody's ability to pay, with the recognition that a $200 fine if you make six figures and a $200 fine if you have 3 kids and are living on a fixed income is a very different amount of money.
This isn't a new idea. This bill has been introduced before, yet those behind it think that if it's ever going to pass, this just might be the year.
There is a increasing public recognition and recognition by legislators and by the governor that the unaffordability crisis in New York has to be addressed.
Something the governor herself has been talking a lot about lately.
And that includes addressing housing costs and healthcare costs, but it also includes addressing New York's court fines and fees and the court debt that a lot of families are subjected to. And so we think this bill is part of that larger picture.
This bill, if passed, would also eliminate incarceration as a punishment for non-payment of fines. On your side of the newsroom, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.